You won't believe what's going on behind palace doors. Sources close to the Duke and Duchess of Sussex are whispering that Prince Harry is furious, not at the press, not at the palace, but at the one person he never thought he'd turn against, his own wife, Meghan Markle. Everything changed after their recent trip to Paris. What should have been just another glamorous outing turned into something darker, something that's now being called the breaking point. It all started the moment Meghan's video surfaced online. Yes, that one, filmed right near the Alma Tunnel, the same place where Princess Diana lost her life. And when Harry saw it, he reportedly snapped. Behind closed doors, voices were raised, walls were thin, and tension crackled like thunder. Harry demanded to know how she could do something so heartless, especially knowing what that place meant to him. To everyone else, it might have seemed like a harmless little travel clip, but to Harry, it felt like a knife straight through an old wound. Witnesses say Meghan brushed it off, rolling her eyes and insisting it was just content. But Harry didn't see it that way. To him, it wasn't content, it was betrayal. And this wasn't their first argument. Oh no, this was just the loudest one yet. The cracks that had been quietly forming between them for months, maybe even years, were finally starting to split wide open. People close to the prince say he's tired. Tired of apologizing, tired of defending, tired of pretending that everything is fine when it's not. And for the first time, even his most loyal friends are whispering what no one ever dared to say before. Maybe the fairy tale is over, because when a man gives up everything, his family, his home, his title, for love, and ends up feeling humiliated by the very person he sacrificed it all for, well, you don't need to be a royal expert to see how that story ends. It all began with one video, Meghan Markle riding through the Alma Tunnel in Paris. For any tourist, maybe it would have been just another scenic moment. But for Meghan, Harry's wife, it wasn't just any tunnel. It was the tunnel, the place where his mother's life ended, the heart of his deepest grief. At first, people were confused. Maybe it was a coincidence, maybe she didn't realize where she was. But come on, the Alma Tunnel isn't exactly hidden. It's the spot where millions go every year to honor Princess Diana, the same place that still brings tears to Harry's eyes whenever it's mentioned. And yet, there she was, calm, composed, almost pleased. And at the end of the video, Meghan crosses her legs and smiles. A tiny gesture, but one that spoke volumes. To some, it looked like confidence. To others, like a signal, as if she were silently saying, "Mission accomplished." The internet went wild. Comment sections exploded. Was this just a video, or was it a message? Because for Harry, Diana isn't some distant royal symbol. She's his mother, his grief, his heartbeat, the one person he's never stopped missing. And now it felt like that pain, his most private sorrow, had been turned into content for the world to consume. Close friends say Harry's anger was simmering beneath the surface. He wasn't just upset, he was broken, exhausted from cleaning up after Meghan's missteps, from apologizing for things he didn't do, from standing by her side when deep down, his instincts screamed that something was terribly wrong. He could feel it, the world's judgment. Every headline, every social media post, every look from people who used to admire him. They weren't seeing a prince fighting for love anymore. They were seeing a man trapped by it. But Harry? He stayed silent. Because pride is a dangerous thing. He couldn't bring himself to admit that maybe, just maybe, he'd made a mistake. That the dream he'd fought for, the woman he'd defended against the entire royal machine, was now slowly tearing his piece apart. So he kept smiling for the cameras, even when his eyes told a completely different story. Behind that silence, though, a storm was raging. He felt humiliated, even betrayed, that the woman he loved had turned his mother's death into something performative. And yet, he didn't lash out, because that's not who Harry is. He's emotional, loyal, and deeply protective of the people he loves. But this time, it hit him. Maybe the person he was protecting didn't truly understand what love meant. As the backlash over the tunnel video exploded across tabloids, Meghan's response left everyone stunned. Instead of apologizing, she decided to spin the narrative. According to insiders, Meghan began telling people that the video had been therapeutic for Harry, a way for him to confront his trauma and find closure about his mother's death. Sounds convenient, doesn't it? Too perfect, almost rehearsed. But for those who know Harry's story, that explanation was absurd. You don't heal from trauma by turning it into a photo op. You don't relive your mother's death for clicks and call it therapy. It was disturbing, and people close to the couple knew it. One insider said quietly, she turned his grief into a storyline. And Harry? He said nothing. Maybe out of love, maybe out of sheer exhaustion. But as any PR expert will tell you, silence, when repeated long enough, starts to sound a lot like agreement. So, the therapy story stuck. People began to see it as some symbolic moment of healing, when in reality, it was just another layer of performance. For Meghan, every controversy can be reframed into empowerment. For Harry, every rewrite chips away another piece of who he used to be. Because let's face it, for Meghan, image is everything, and what keeps that image alive isn't her fame, it's his name. You see, for Meghan, everything revolves around the spotlight. Every camera flash, every headline, every whispered rumor, it's all fuel. But there's one thing people often forget. Meghan Markle doesn't hold a royal title on her own. Her identity, her brand, is still tied to Harry's name. Without him, she's just Meghan Markle again. And let's be honest, she's worked far too hard to ever go back to that. Behind closed doors, royal insiders claim that King Charles has quietly considered removing their titles entirely. Remember, the late Queen already stripped them of official royal duties. But Charles, ever the cautious monarch, hasn't gone all the way yet. And that hesitation? Oh, that's power. Because as long as Harry remains the Duke of Sussex, Meghan gets to be the Duchess. And if that thread ever snaps, if Harry loses his title, Meghan's entire brand might crumble overnight. That's why insiders say she never lets the cameras stop rolling. Every project, every interview, every public appearance, it's all part of keeping that image alive. Because when the spotlight fades, so does the power. One source close to the family said it bluntly. If Harry lost his titles tomorrow, you'd see how fast that empire would collapse. It's a game, a careful, ruthless game, wrapped in the language of love. One partner clinging to affection, the other clinging to relevance. And poor Harry, he's exhausted, absolutely drained. Those close to him say he's not the same man anymore. His once fiery spirit, the rebel prince who walked away from the crown for love, has been replaced by quiet fatigue and hidden resentment. Every headline, every argument, every crisis that wasn't his to fix has slowly chipped away at him. A longtime friend put it perfectly. He's cleaning up messes he didn't even create. And every time she somehow makes him feel like it's his fault. That's the cycle. Meghan acts. The world reacts. Harry repairs. The fairy tale didn't end with a crown or a curse. It ended with silence, and two people who once had the world's hearts now barely holding on to each other's. As the cameras flash and they take the stage once more, dressed in gold and pretending nothing's wrong, the truth hangs heavy in the air. Everyone can see it. The cracks aren't cracks anymore. They're fractures. And for Prince Harry, the man who once gave up a kingdom for love, all that's left now are the ruins.